Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in strong opposition to Amendment Number 19, which would increase budget authority for the Internal Revenue Service by $20 billion during the budget window for the purpose of rehiring President Biden's massive army of 87,000 IRS agents to audit, fine, and target middle-class Americans who are just trying to make ends meet. As we all know, when Democrats passed the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, they supercharged the IRS with $80 billion of taxpayer funding, equal to almost 7 times the IRS's normal budget. Democrats have said that they want to increase audits on Americans back to historic levels to close the tax gap. However, doing so would mean more than 600,000 families making less than $200,000 would be hit with an IRS audit. Democrats will also claim that by increasing spending by $20 billion to the IRS, the deficit will actually decrease. However, in practice, according to the Economic Policy Innovation Center, so far, every $1 of new revenue from IRS enforcement has cost taxpayers $1.04, so it's a loss. And the IRS has collected just 18% of the revenues projected by CBO, so there's not as many tax cheats as they thought. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record an article from the Wall Street Journal, "The Middle Class Won't Escape the New IRS Audit Wave," and that's from August of 2020.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. Now I want to share a personal story. I'm a survivor of IRS abuse. As a small business owner, I had $940,000 seized from my business by the IRS. They audited me both personal and business for 4 years. When they finished that audit, they found out that the money was legally earned and properly reported, and they still wouldn't give it back. They said I had to go to trial. So I sued them. It cost me $150,000, but I got my money back. And when I told my story to Congress, I was asked to testify before the Oversight Subcommittee of House Ways and Means. And if you've been here 10 years, you know about this. 2 days ago, February the 11th, 2025, is the 10-year anniversary of that testimony before Chairman Peter Roskam. I will tell you that the IRS abuse was so egregious that Chairman Roskam forced IRS Commissioner, who was in that subcommittee hearing, to apologize to me in front of Congress, apologize to every solitary witness. There were 3 of us. The result of that hearing was a piece of legislation called the RESPECT Act, Restraining Excessive Seizure of Property Through the Exploitation of Civil Asset Forfeiture Tools Act. They use civil asset forfeiture to do it. And you know what? They called that piece of legislation after the 3 of us. It's called the Clyde Hirsch-Sowers RESPECT Act. So there's a federal law that takes away some authority from the IRS with my name on it. Now, do I want to see the IRS get $20 billion more? No, absolutely not. And as a member of the House Appropriations Committee, I'm proud to say that House Republicans successfully rescinded $20 billion of IRS funding during the fiscal year 2024 appropriations process. Studies from the Joint Committee on Tax have consistently shown that this army of IRS agents would disproportionately affect middle-class Americans, specifically those who make under $200,000 annually. In addition, a few weeks ago, President Trump issued an executive order halting the hiring of, among others, the tens of thousands of new IRS agents called for by Democrats in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. Hardworking families and small businesses across the country are already reeling from higher prices caused by the Biden-Harris policies over the last 4 years. Since Biden took office, total energy costs have surged 36%. Gasoline is up 41%. Home energy costs risen 30%. Electricity bills are 29% higher. Natural gas bills have increased by 34%. Sadly, this Democrat amendment wants to target these hurting American families by increased auditing of those that make less than $200,000 annually. On the contrary, President Trump and House Republicans want to cut taxes for those families making less than $200,000. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, signed into law by President Trump in 2017, fueled historic economic growth, raised wages, boosted real median household income, and surpassed GDP expectations. However, many of its pro-growth policies will expire in 2025, risking a significant tax increase for hardworking American families and small businesses across the country. Thankfully, the budget resolution we are considering today would provide for reconciliation instructions to the Ways and Means Committee to extend the TCJA tax cuts for American families. By cutting taxes for hardworking families, reducing federal spending, finally securing our border, and investing in our national defense, the U.S. can launch an era of unparalleled strength and prosperity, the Golden Age. Republicans believe the right way to ensure tax compliance is to simplify the tax code, not supercharge the IRS bureaucracy. I want to make this clear. A vote in favor of this amendment is a vote to increase burdensome IRS tax enforcement on those families making less than $200,000. I urge all of my colleagues to vote against this disastrous amendment, and I yield back.